decided to present this paper. I have with Sara Vamboglia, Lucero, and Maria Cristina Rossi. The usual disclaimers apply also here, so they will express it that they are the authors and not necessarily representative of the institutions with which they are affiliated. So, in this audience, all are aware of the importance of financial literacy in influencing economic behaviors, from the ability to save, to participation in financial markets, to retirement planning, and so on. What it is less fertile is the literature which analyzes the implication of financial literacy on career aspirations and entrepreneurial spirits. There are some analyses that find positive links between financial literacy on the one hand and the condition of being an entrepreneur on the other hand. But what we do is to take a step back and we analyze the relation between financial literacy and career aspirations. So, why do we look at aspiration? Well, aspirations are important in shaping the behavior of economic agents. And with regard to young people, aspiration can influence both educational and occupational choices, with implications in terms of personal well-being, but also there may be implication at an aggregate level. For instance, educational occupational choice may influence social mobility across population groups or also across generations. So we concentrate on young people, young adults, and investigate the link between financial literacy and the willingness to become entrepreneurs. So we concentrate on a target of individuals whose aspirations have not been realized yet, or who have just recently started to work. In fact, if we look at the data, we consider 5,000 individuals aged between 18 and 34, which are included in a sample. It was obtained from a survey conducted by the Bank of Italy in 2023. The individuals have been interviewed online. And the survey covers several topics, from knowledge of economic and financial concepts, to digital skills, to the use of financial products. But the survey also includes questions about opinions and aspirations of young people. A few words about sampling. The population has been divided into strata, age and geographical localization, and information have been also post-stratified to take into account other dimensions of the population, such as education and the size of the municipality in which the respondent is based. So let's move to the questions that we use to capture our main phenomena. So with regard to financial knowledge, we consider the 5 questions related to basic concepts, interest rates, inflation, risk diversification, the classical big 3. We also have a question on mortgages and on interest compounding. And our indicator is very simple, it's the number of correct answers to these 5 questions. So this is the questions which capture the entrepreneurial intention of our sample of individuals. So there is a question that asks whether in the future the respondent would like to become an entrepreneur, and she or he may say yes, but there are also alternatives which try to track reasons behind potential lack of interest in pursuing an entrepreneurial career. So the person could be really satisfied with their job, could consider too risky running a business. he or she might think not to have the right skills or even the economic resources to run a business. The person could be already an entrepreneur, or the person could be uncertain with regard to career aspiration and may say, oh, I don't know if I'm interested in pursuing this type of career. So, some statistics. Our sample is roughly split between male and female. The average age of the respondent is 26. 20% of the interviews have a degree. 47% are employed, 33% are students, 60% are job seeker, and the average score in financial literacy is around 3. So this picture showed the distribution of the answer on the question on entrepreneurial intention. So we have that 38% of individuals say, yes, in principle I would like to become an entrepreneur. There is another 50% of the sample that is not interested, but interestingly, there is an 11% of respondents that are not are uncertain with regard to their future aspiration and say, I don't know. When we combine this information with the data we have on financial literacy, we see that in general, financial literacy is higher among individuals who are interested in starting a business or who are already satisfied with their job. The lower level of financial literacy is among individuals who are not who have not ideas of working in the future, or apparently are uncertain. And this is our empirical strategy, which is based on 3 steps. First, we use a standard linear probability model to track the relationship between financial literacy and entrepreneurial intention. We have a set of controls, which include the typical individual level characteristics, and we also have a vector of province level fixed effect. Then we try to make a step ahead with regard to causality and use an estimation variable method. There are obviously issues related to reverse causality or omitted variable bias. We consider as an instrument the education of the respondent father and education on the respondent mother. We have 2 dummy variables equal to 1 if father of the respondent or mother of the respondent at least an upper secondary school diploma. And the idea is that the cultural, the intellectual environment in which the individual grows up can facilitate the development of human capital, including financial literacy. And indeed, there is evidence showing that mother's and father education is strongly associated with children's financial literacy. But what I said has just to do with the relevance condition of instrumental variable. Instrumental variable requires also that exclusion restriction is satisfied. So in our case, the exclusion restriction requires that the link between parental education on the one hand and entrepreneurial intention on the other hand occurs through the channel of human capital, through the channel of specifically financial literacy. This is a working assumption that we are going to test through a dedicated placebo exercise. So we are going to see if our data are consistent with such exclusion restriction. And to value all the richness of our data set, we also consider a multinomial logic model to analyze all the characteristics correlated with each of the possible answers provided to the questions about entrepreneurial intention. So this is the first slide, which shows the result on the estimates of the linear probability model. These 5 columns differ just with respect to the cover date which I included, and what we see is that financial literacy is always positive and statistically associated with our dependent variable, which is a dummy, equal to 1 if the respondent states that he has an intention to start a business. These are the result of our instrumental variable. These are the estimates of the first stage regression. So our instruments are associated with the instrumented variable, so with the financial literacy of the respondents. The second stage estimates show that financial literacy is positively and statistically associated with the willingness to be an entrepreneur. And in the third column, we have the result for our placebo test, where, that we built by considering only individuals who are financially illiterate. So the idea is that if the link between parental education of the respondent and intention to be an entrepreneur is channeled by financial literacy, this link should disappear among individuals who are financially illiterate, because for this individual, financial literacy is 0 and the channel does not exist. And what we see is that the significance of our instruments in explaining entrepreneurial intention disappears when we consider just the individuals who are financially illiterate. So these are the slides that show the estimates of our multinomial logic model. Here we see that financial literacy is positively correlated with the intention to be an entrepreneur. But in column number 6, we see that the probability to say, I don't know, so the uncertainty, is less, so individuals who are more financially literate are less likely to respond, I don't know. And here we have some other estimates with regard to the role of female are less interested in pursuing entrepreneurial career, but are also less satisfied with their job. And another variable on which I want to focus is degree. So individuals with a degree are less likely to start, are less willing to start a business, but on the other hand, are more satisfied with their job. And so I'm going to conclude. We use a representative sample of young adults to explore entrepreneurial intention, career aspiration, and we find a role for financial knowledge. In particular, we find that financial literacy has a positive and statistically significant relation with the willingness to start an entrepreneurial activity. And the second result is that financial literacy can have a role also in reducing the chance of not knowing what to do in the future. These results can be relevant also policy perspective, because financial literacy and the related financial education initiatives may be useful and can act as a sort of guidance tool in orienting individuals and in increasing also clarity with regard to professional